Before I begin, I just want to say that we all have gone through this pandemic. We know what all was happening. It's virtually like a world war. Every nation in the world was trying to save its citizens and trying to find ways of protecting them. Well, finally, the vaccine is there. A lot of people are being vaccinated. That's the good news. And the light at the end of the tunnel is coming closer and faster. So we are hoping things would improve very, very soon. So what's going to really happen is something what we need to talk about. So I would like to mention two things. 2020 has been an extremely difficult year for travel and tourism. Here, I'm not talking about just wellness tourism, but I'm talking about the whole travel fraternity. In fact, a lot of businesses came down on their knees. A year like this, no one had imagined in their vaguest of dreams. And actually 2020, whatever you may say, has taught us a lesson which I hope we will never ever forget in the future. As tourism begins the healing journey in 2021, this year, we deep dive into this sector. We believe we can drive this sector profitably and bring it to a new level. Wellness tourism is projected to lead the way and help greatly in tourism recovery. That seems to be the answer for a lot of us going forward. What's next for this? Actually, the wellness industry is $700 billion industry. So what's going to happen with the wellness industry today? That's what we're going to be talking about. We will find out more about the demand and the opportunities of this sector through our experts. And you're going to be seeing all the three experts on the screen, and they will talk about the professionals will talk about the wellness tourism, and they'll talk about the revival and what do we expect in the next year. And next year, I mean 2021 and 2022. So my first guest, I'd like to introduce all of them one by one. I would like to introduce first is Linda Abdullah. Linda, if you can wave. Yeah, thank you. She's the founder and CEO of ORYX Healthcare Consultancy. Linda is a pioneer in the field of health tourism in Dubai and is well respected globally. She is an accomplished healthcare professional and a medical technologist with a master's degree from Ireland. Linda played a pivotal role in establishment of the health tourism department and the Dubai Health Experience during her decade-long stint with DHA. Welcome, Linda. It's a pleasure to have you here. We really want to hear a lot from you. My next guest, ladies first, that's the way I'm going to go. Catherine Moore. Catherine is founder and MD of Spa Connectors Global. Catherine has been in the global spa industry for 15 years with extensive knowledge on all aspects of the spa business. She knows A to Z. Her success includes negotiation, complex commercial arrangements, conceptualizing implementations, operating frameworks, standards, and training programs. Wow, this covers everything, Catherine. That's wonderful. Recognizing for creativity and her out-of-the-box thinking when developing bespoke high-end wellness concepts, Catherine is a sought-after collaborator in the market today. Catherine, welcome. Pleasure to have you here with us today. My next person who would like to introduce you, and if I go wrong on his pronunciation, don't kill me. Laszlo Puszko, that's what Puszko is the CEO and co-founder of the Health Tourism Worldwide, an advisor, speaker, experienced engineer that I was very impressed with, a researcher and author. Laszlo is an international expert and visionary in the health, wellness, medical travel, hospitality, and tourism arena. As an economist specializing in tourism, he has led benchmark research of UN WTO and European Travel Commission. With over 25 years of experience, Laszlo has lent his expertise in product development, experience, mapping, designing, impact assessment, and marketing. Pleasure to have you with us today, Laszlo. It's such a pleasure.
Thank you.
In fact, it's a pleasure to have all three of you. Well, all three of you seem to be really distinguished, wonderful people who are very well expert, and I think I couldn't have had a better panel. That's what I would really like to say. So to begin with, what I would like to request all of you is, please say your opening statements. Next 2 or 3 minutes is going to be yours. So we would like to start with Linda. I'll start with you, and you could take it forward. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Sanjeet, and thank you so much for having us today on this, I think, very important panel discussion. We all believe that, COVID-19 was a wake-up call to the world. So in one moment, people were going about their normal lives, jobs, school activities, and then in a matter of weeks, hundreds of thousands maybe lost their lives, and millions were infected, and half the world's population is some form of a lockdown. Never before has health and well-being declined so rapidly and so simultaneously for so many people around the world. There is so much suffering going on for many, from loneliness, isolation, heartbreak. Some have got anxiety, anger, despair. But our resilience as individuals and as a society is very vital for survival. And we're all realizing that it all starts from our health and well-being. So healthy minds, healthy habits, even strong family ties, caring circle of friends. It all strengthens our fortitude to cope with this pandemic and its repercussions. And wellness is becoming the language. In years before, it was more of a lucrative term that was used for maybe a very limited group of elites. But now we're moving away from that, and it's becoming more of a day-to-day language that a lot of people are talking about. If you look at the healthcare, it had to have its own organizational wellness that had to develop. So a lot of change happened. Within a very short span of time, hospitals had to adjust capacity, redesign care, manage financial losses, and even redeploy staff. It had an impact. It had a very strong impact on the global healthcare scene. And we saw a lot of, responses from around the globe, over the countries, from formation of response teams to implementation of precaution protocols, creation of short-term, long-term strategies to mitigate the effect. And it was all done at a fast pace that sometimes it was a bit too shocking to the system. If we look at data today and what we are trying to bring to the market today as Oryx Healthcare Consultancies, we're trying to help our customers and our clients to redesign their thinking and bring about wellness in every avenue of what they are doing. So wellness is not anymore just a little program that people would incorporate within a spa or a hotel or a resort. It's an overall holistic thinking that has emerged with the necessity of the COVID-19. And we can see that according to data, like the Global Wellness Institute has said that, the wellness will be growing in the globe at an average annual rate of 7.5% by 2022, which is quite higher than even the projected rate of 6.4, which is designed for the global tourism. There will be a change. The going back to normalcy will take a new turf as it's taking today. So people, when they look for their vacations, they will not be, I think, looking just for, going to lie down on a beach. They will need to look for more things to do with their mental well-being and, health and wellness, whether it's for their individual or maybe as families. And today we're lucky as well that all these scientists in the world have worked very quickly to bring about these vaccinations. So, we envisage that 2021 from mid onwards and 2022 will have a much better year for global travel and more people seeking wellness in their travel plans.
Thank you very much, Linda. It was a pleasure to hear you. I have some questions, but I'll come to that later. Let everybody have their opinion first. So, Catherine, over to you. Let's hear your point of view first, please.
I think the critical issue at the moment is not necessarily how wellness is, or what it may mean, more likely how to adapt it to local situations and regional differences. I'm not always very fond of the global trend of 5 things, because especially nowadays, the responses to critical issues which may be relevant globally, we need to look at those given the local circumstances. So if you talk about wellness or well-being, because first of all, these things are not necessarily the same, we need to look at what's available locally, who we are talking to, and how we can adapt it. And not just saying that this is a global thing, therefore it has to be applied every single location. I don't believe in that. But it also suggests that we have way more options, because every destination, every region, every country, every even property can have its very own response to the main challenge. And that's a good thing, especially from leisure tourism perspectives. And one more thing, which I think could be very relevant here, is the availability of options. So far, wellness, and Catherine can, I think, second me on that, very much was linked to spa world, and especially around GCC. That's very much a high-end understanding of what the product is, typically, not exclusively, but typically. But given the global pandemic, we need to think of alternatives to very different segments and need to provide available solutions to a less well-off, less affluent markets. And that certainly is a challenge of how to do that. But we all across societies and populations and cultures, we need to be able to provide alternatives. And wellness thinking, and less so wellness services, but wellness thinking, certainly has those foundations that can help us. So I think for me, for the next year or so, it's very much how we look at local situations and come up with competitive, valuable, and affordable solutions, not excluding the high-end market, but more like thinking about the market as such and coming up with solutions at different levels and at different styles and different content.
Thank you very much. Now I'm going over to Catherine. Can you hear me? Over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with what Laszlo just said, and also our previous comments. If I'm to talk about it a little bit more from an operational perspective, we certainly need to look at how to implement wellness across all sectors. It's not just an offering for people with money. And I'm seeing so many opportunities. If I'm to look at, say, just the GCC market, I'm based in Dubai at the moment, but seeing opportunities in hotels, in standalone wellness facilities, to be able to take on retreats or even individual day packages or what have you. There is so much opportunity, yet there's a lot of lack of awareness in how to actually implement these services. And so whilst we're all here in the industry knowing what's required, it actually executing it and having, I guess, the funds or the people on the ground understanding what to do is probably the biggest challenge. We saw hotels open up here in Dubai mid last year, and it took probably 4 or 5 months for any hotel to start offering a wellness staycation. Every weekend there was people doing staycations in Dubai because you obviously couldn't travel anywhere, but no hotel had actually got around to creating a package for wellness, which, to me seems quite insane, considering that there is a lot of expertise on the ground that could be utilized. So for me, it's, yes, we know that wellness is so important to the longevity of our population now, but how are we actually going to be able to implement this, because we don't have that understanding on the ground level.
Thank you very much, Catherine. I'll actually now come to Linda. Linda, you did mention in your opening remark, you did mention about a wake-up call and then you said it's been a 7.5% growth which you're looking at. But I really want to ask you over here would be that consumer confidence is actually is of prime concern for everybody, because till they don't have the confidence, there's going to be no travel and tourism. They won't be looking at wellness. How do you think you're going to be building confidence of wellness in the market? That's something which, if you can throw some light on.
Thank you. I mean, today it's going to be all the game of building the consumer confidence. The wellness industry, the hoteliers, the travel industry needs to be very careful about how they go about building their brand and making it center around authenticity. I mean, it seems like a fairly unregulated market. So audience will naturally be skeptical, and it can be difficult to know where to go and who to trust in this new normal that's going around us. So, making credibility is going to be a goal for them. Brands must convince consumers that their promised health benefits, experiences are authentic, which means communicating the evidence behind them in accessible terms. They need to have proven track records of consistent results. Building trust and a loyal customer base that willingly provides, a plethora of positive feedback will facilitate the wellness brands, to grow as they should be. Accreditations, certifications for healthcare facilities will be essential, but when we're talking about wellness, we're not just talking, facilities that belong only to the health industry. There's much more to it, as Catherine rightfully mentioned. It's not easy to rebuild that and put it in the right context, especially that the packages are just all over the place. And we can see today that there are other Emirates, not just Dubai, who are trying to get into this field and offer wellness as an offering, whether for staycations or later on as we open up for international travelers. So we need to be very careful. Back in the day, people were traveling for medical tourism or wellness tourism, just looking at simple things like, do they have technology? Do they have the trained manpower? Do they have, the resources? But today there's much more to it. We will need to convince the clients that these people have got the right protocols to manage things like infection control, to manage physical distancing, to manage all that comes with this precautions that people should take for wellness tourism to take place. And also as a destination, destinations need to work on facilitating safe entries to people and making sure that all the regulatory foundation is right, and it stems obviously from the regulations on the level of the destination down and trickles down to the smallest person working in this facility that offers things like wellness tourism. So it's not a one solution that needs to be implemented for the industry so as to become a wellness industry. It's a little bit more complicated than that, and I believe it all revolves around creating the trust in the brand, and a lot of work definitely needs to be done in this respect.
On that question, I just want to ask you one question. When you say it's very simple to say you need to build the trust and all that, who is going to be doing that? Sorry, is it the travel industry? Is it going to be the wellness people? Is it going to be the hotels? Sorry, another question on that. Who's going to be doing that?
That's a very good question. It's a whole ecosystem. It doesn't stem just from a hotel deciding to be following the protocols. It's a whole system that we need to look at. So it starts from traveling through the airport and how the airport is facilitating the journey and making sure that people are safe. If you're talking about how the hotel check-in, this, that. So it's a whole industry, it's a whole thing. And because wellness deals a lot with, being very close to people and providing a service that's in very much close proximity to the bodies of the clients, there needs to be a whole infrastructure that needs to be laid. So, people like us as, consultants and people who are, into the regulatory and implementation side of things will come through to bridge the gap between what the people want and what should happen really on the ground, I think.
Thank you.
Can I add something there?
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Could I add something? I think it's really important that the brand that's trying to introduce wellness shows their authenticity, as Linda said, or credibility, and that usually comes through their marketing and who they partner with on the ground. And what I'm seeing with a lot of the hotel groups is that they're letting go of most of their internal expertise for spa and wellness, and obviously due to COVID and so forth, it's been challenging for the corporate side of hotels. But for a hotel to be able to really achieve authentic wellness that the consumer is going to look at and say, yes, I want to put my money here, the hotel has to do a really great job in making sure that they are marketing themselves. When prior to having my own business, I worked for Minor Hotel Group, and I started the wellness program for Anantara. And Anantara at the time was not known for wellness at all. And so for us, it was very much around like, how can we dip our toe in and start to create that trust with our client, because we're known for doing a great massage, but we're not known for doing wellness. And it took time now, and it's certainly happening, but that was over 6 or 7 years to be able to gain that momentum. And I don't think hotels necessarily have that much time now. So it's about them partnering with the right expertise on the ground, taking wellness seriously and understanding what it is, but then also creating that marketing, because it's all about what people see on Instagram, as to whether they're willing to actually book and try, and then obviously feedback essentially comes through social media. And I think that's.
I want to stay on that for a minute. I want to stay on the same subject. You mentioned in your opening remark about the new opportunities and day packages, especially you talked about wellness staycations. That's what you did mention. Now, I want to, again, when it comes to marketing, but I want to relate that. Is this the answer for short term? Since you're in the Middle East, my point is, what's the Middle East market looking like, and how big is the size going to be? Would it be necessary for every hotel to have a wellness package kind of situation, or how will it work in the future?
I think definitely the 5-star market, it depends on obviously the property, but the 5-star markets here that have either a desert location or a beach location certainly could offer something that had a wellness offering. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something that is, a full-blown wellness experience. It could be something that's quite light, but people are obviously really suffering at the moment. There's a lot of fatigue around COVID. People are burnt out from day to day, and they just want to be able to escape. So there's the ability to do, a long weekend, or even something much more serious in terms of a 5-day or 7-day package, because these hotels are not full at the moment. They certainly have the ability to be able to put it on. But what I'm seeing is that the hotels aren't wanting to partner with outside operators. So there's a lot of great retreat operators that are coming up, and they're approaching the hotels and they're saying, can we please partner? We will bring in all the expertise. We will help you with the marketing. And the hotels are coming back with ridiculous room rates, ridiculous breakdowns for food. And they're not making it worth their while, because at the end of the day, the retreat operators then have to charge an absolute fortune for what they're doing for them to actually make any money. And then as Laszlo said at the start, you then don't have an offering that is going to suit all of the market. It ends up coming in at a high-end level, right? So, for me, we need to start at an understanding what opportunities are out there, and start to educate the hotel industry and say, listen, wellness tourism is here. We see the stats, as Linda said with Global Wellness Institute, we see the stats. Why are you not taking up these opportunities and looking at how this could be, a major sector of your business? And it doesn't have to be a short-term solution. This could be long-term for them. And it could be a light wellness offering through to a really serious one, depending on obviously how much they will invest in their capex.
Let me add one little note here. I would like to refer to one of the recent intelligence that we just created on during and post-COVID and wellness and travel, and of course that's every attendee can have access to that. So that's you're provided that. And just for the benefit of attendees, I think one of the major challenges, and it really much relates to what Catherine and Linda both said, was that the study also confirms that the industry tends to look at wellness in terms of the technicalities like treatment descriptions, SOPs, protocols, whereas when we looked at how it is perceived, the consumers more interested in what those things do for them. Know what they do, more like how it benefits me, not the technicalities. That's you might think it's tiny little difference between the two, but really isn't, because and that goes back to Linda's point of building confidence. As long as you can assure me that whatever you do is good for me for the following reasons, and you have the necessary psychological, intellectual bridges and foundations, and you provide the relevance to the market, then they will be way more open to actually try something new, even going back. But this is not, and this is where I think I can say that many hotels as well as operators fail, that they don't necessarily build that trust because they lost in the technicalities of what treatment, how long my treatment menu is, how extensive that offer is. But guests get lost very quickly in long lists and understand they don't have the vocabulary, don't have the relevance, and they got bored of reading stupidly long menus, and of course is bad for management anyway, and operations as well. But still, they are pushing long descriptions. But I think we need to really listen to what certain studies suggest, that you need to give me the reason to believe. That's a very basic foundation of marketing. The reason to believe. Why shall I believe you? What's the evidence here? What's the story here? What's the relevance here? And one of the, for example, in this study, just looking at my notes, suggests that what the market is looking for, and I'm looking at the GCC market exclusively, not the various other regional markets. They look at traditional healing. I'm not talking about medical, I'm not talking about wellness, I'm talking about traditional healing. It could be rooted in Islam, it could be rooted in various other faiths, as well as cultural approaches and lifestyles, but you need to give me the reason to believe why that's relevant. And that's a storytelling thing, not making it up. You need to give me the reasons why that is. And the other thing, which is, I think, adds to the discussion here, is the segment which looks like to be the number one in GCC is not wellness-oriented per se, more like give me healthy options. I will make the choice, but you need to give me options in your service portfolio, in your protocols, that these are the more healthy ones. And you cannot turn every single guest into a wellness guest. You cannot turn every hotel into a wellness hotel, nor should you. But what is really an opportunity, and this is where I'm talking about the local alternatives, how I am going to provide the guests these options of healthy options. You don't need to change the whole service instantly because it costs a lot of money. As Catherine pointed it out, that's just going to be way too expensive. But when you start stage by stage, step by step, but you give options in the room amenities, in the catering options, or let's say, the spa options as well. You look at what is more for the health orientation. You don't even necessarily need to call it wellness. You don't need to use the label, because then it can raise certain issues. Some are good, some are not as good anymore because of the overuse of the term. But the understanding of, I am an operator, I am an owner, I'm a developer, what options do I have in terms of providing healthy alternatives? And this is when you have amazing creativity, and many of those don't actually cost more than what you do anyway. But the news item of it, that you can show that you care and you understand what's going on, that can make all the difference.
Point well taken, very well, Laszlo. But I want to ask you one question here. In fact, in the Middle East specifically, my question would be that there's a lot of family travel. And would wellness and health would actually be built in for family travel? Or is that possible?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm very surprised. Working in, let's say, 4 or 5 continents, I'm always surprised how overlooked the family market in the wellness business. Don't forget, when we talk about wellness traditionally, and talking again on the high-end market, this is all about creating those sacred temples of I don't want to use certain terminologies because it wouldn't be appropriate, but you can think of a couple where you create these sacred places where you are whispering, you don't talk, everybody is very quiet, and everything is very serene, and it's all very nice. That's fine, but you can't do that with families. That's just out of the question. We don't have the facilities operating. We don't have facilities designed to accommodate the family market, especially when you have younger kids. When you look at the European market in comparison, I can give you endless number of examples which are specifically created for the family market. In many countries, Italy, Austria, Germany, Holland, even now in Spain, some in the UK, which are not even necessarily called wellness services, wellness resorts as such, but family resorts. But the service portfolio that they created, that's very much advocating the wellness benefits to the guests. It really is missing from the GCC market, and that's certainly, it has some cultural reasons why that is, obviously business reasons as well why that is. But we know from studies as well that families in certain markets became number 2 for wellness demand. And we need to cater for that market, but it takes time and space and the different kind of service provision.
All right, thank you. Yeah,
if you allow me, I totally agree with Laszlo on this. And I mean, we recently, there's a lot of talk within the industry and out of the industry about, how important it is to create spaces for families to be together, to enjoy, active holidays and, even simple staycations on the level of the country. And we can see that there are some, baby steps that are being taken. So not necessarily just in Dubai. So we've got Hatta, for example, which is emerging concept that they're trying to build very hard to make it into an active holiday destination, because it's got the a bit of mountains, a bit of hiking that can be done, a little bit of cycling that can be done, but still I think it's within a context of small steps that are being taken. There's a lot of integration that needs to take place to shape it up in a much more solid offering, whether it's for staycation or international travelers. It needs to definitely be shaped up in a much stronger value proposition. And, operators need to come, as Catherine said, you need the expertise to come and put that together within a context of, it's an experienced system that works. So, somebody comes, an operator comes and says, I've got that experience, I'll put it together for you. The package will be done for you properly. The marketing will be done for it properly. And the implementation on the ground is definitely bringing about that experience that we all want. There are also some areas in Fujairah that they're also trying to promote for you know, now that the weather is nice for hiking and stuff for families, and we've experienced it, you know, as a family, and we loved it. But that kind of a culture needs to also evolve, because you can't just be a destination that wants to, you know, to promote it for others, while internally we're not adopting that culture. So it's good if it comes also from within. So it's a much stronger, authentic offering. So when you think, for example, of Austria, and, you know, we do our hikes in the summer, and sometimes we go for our ski resorts, you see a lot of Austrians walking around with us, a lot of Europeans from the neighboring countries walking with us or skiing with us. So it's a very much of an authentic thing for the place. And that is what we need to work on to strengthen the authentic offering that is being made within the GCC, to make it more attractive and more real, I think. Plus, the pricing, which was touched upon by the colleagues here, you know, this democratization of this type of holidays has really become stronger with COVID. You know, this this eliteness of just thinking that wellness is only for the elite definitely is being moved away from. But I think our hotel industry in this part of the world needs to also ride that tide, or else they'll be really left out, and they will not be able to create that you know, impulse in people to come and try it. And again, I say, whether it's from the people in the country or people coming from abroad, pricing needs to be looked at. The offering, it's not always about being lucrative. It's more about being authentic, real, and, you know, creating that attraction for people to be willing to try, you know. So if it's always like that very high price, and, you know, it's becoming widely a need for people, then you will not be, you know, getting close to them. And I think we need to also move away from just being a 5-star thing to becoming more real. You know, even if people want to go on a nice camping expedition in a set camp, it needs to give them the kick to come back and say, we've enjoyed so much doing yoga, breathe in the air for 2 days, and come back rejuvenated. So it's the experience that we should be working on, rather than just the other things, because at the moment we're just working on the other things and forgetting the real crunch of it. And that's important.
Linda, point well taken, but I now need to all ask three of you. There are a lot of questions. Actually, I never realized there's so many questions people are asking at the moment. So I need to raise them one by one. So I'm going to go ahead and ask them. So I'm going to start with Catherine. There's a question from Maria. She's from London. She's saying that, will staycations boom in the wellness sector? Is that what we should be looking at?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Maria from London, she wants to know, will staycations boom in the wellness sector?
Will staycations boom in the wellness sector?
Will they? Will they boom?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think so. I mean, considering that we can't do a lot of international travel at the moment, and it may just be either domestic or regional travel, having the opportunity to go for, you know, a short staycation and, you know, have it either be some sort of soft wellness or essentially could be full-on wellness experience. Yes, absolutely. And it can be done in any country. We're not just talking GCC.
Fair enough. Laszlo, I want to ask you this question. This is coming from Khalid from Riyadh. He's asking, how is the wellness tourism ready to embrace technology? Is any technology got to play a part in it?
Yes and no. Personally, I believe at the moment, because everybody's zoomed out, or let's say webinar jumped out, or I don't know, screened out, I would advocate less technology, if you don't mind. It doesn't mean that it would need to be omitted altogether. There is a place and there is a time when technology can help, but for me, that's an agent and not a product. It can help to achieve certain goals. It can help me to monitor certain activities, but I don't believe that this is a means. It's more like a means to an end and not the end. Technology can help me in lots of things, mentally, physically, psychologically, biologically even. but that's not a major objective for me, especially nowadays when everybody is online 26 hours a day, because we need to be able to recognize that there is beyond that. So I think both will go parallel. So we will have a lot of technology-based solutions and options available, many of which we can build in and incorporate. Pre-visit, you have sharing your data, and then your treatment plan would be perfectly tailor-made by the time you arrive. So there's lots of times or places when it could be really beneficial. But I would really suggest to go beyond and look at either a hybrid experience or more of looking at technology-less experiences as a digital detox even.
Fair enough.
Can I just add something in there?
Yeah, go ahead.
I agree with that completely. I think operations need to utilize technology to make sure that we know who the customer is and what they want, and making sure that we're tracking their progress. That will then get them coming back more, or coming to other hotels or what have you. I think we need to understand that more. We don't utilize technology enough, from whether it's a CRM perspective or what have you. But what I'm seeing in some of the operations now is that because we can't get the expertise to come on the ground because of COVID, we're utilizing technology to, whether it's a meditation that's done via Zoom, or it's a coaching healing session done via Zoom. It's allowing people to have that access to the expertise, even if the people aren't available on the ground. So I think technology is important now, and I think it always will be. But it's about us changing our mindset and saying, yes, okay, exactly what Laszlo said. It's important for us to have our time without technology, but it's important to us to utilize technology to be able to get the resources that we need.
Okay, Catherine, on that, if you stay on that, there's a question from Vivek from UAE. He says, from a hotelier's point of view, how much should we invest in spa and wellness products? Catherine, that's me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I lost you after how much should we invest in spa and wellness products?
How much should we invest in spa and wellness products as a hotel?
Okay. So, I mean, look, to be really honest, it depends on the hotel. It depends on the brand. It depends on the demographic that's coming into the spa, into the hotel. Not every property needs to have a spa. Not every property needs to do wellness. But it's about really looking at where you are and looking at who you wish to attract, and are they the sort of people that are going to essentially want to visit a spa or want to have some form of wellness. And as we've heard so far on the panel, there's the ability to incorporate wellness in an experience. If let's say it's a 3-star property that is a corporate location, you can have equipment in the room to help with exercise. You can have programs on the TV to be able to help them do meditation, yoga, what have you, in the rooms. You can have a healthy menu that's available in the room and in the restaurants. You can have a mini bar that's not full of sugary snacks, etc. Those sorts of things are all available in all sorts of different hotel levels, but they don't necessarily have to go and build a full spa facility.
It's 13:30.
So I think what's important is to look at the individual property and say, okay, let's do some market research here. Let's run a feasibility. Is it important for us to have spa and wellness facilities here? And what can we then do across the full offering?
Okay, I'm moving on to Linda. Linda, this question is for you. Actually, there are two questions. I'm putting them together. This is Susan from Sharjah. She's saying, will working remotely to stay healthy continue in the vaccinated world? And the second question is from Sonia from Sharjah. She's saying, will the Middle East still travel to Asia, particularly in India and Thailand, for medical treatment?
I just missed the second part. What was the question again?
The second question was, will the Middle East still travel to Asia, specifically India and Thailand, for medical treatment?
Medical treatment. Okay. All right. Regarding the question on the vaccines, it's a very much of a legit question that everybody keeps asking. This answer is not with me. It's with the scientists today who are doing the research, and all what we can find through the limited literature that we can read about the vaccine is that we need to keep up with the same precautions, whether it's the hand wash, the infection control measures, keeping all the precautions to protect others from the virus being transferred to them. And until we get authentic data, and please, I always say this to everyone, do not rely only on newspapers for these things. There needs to be authentic literature reviewed articles that are published in well-respected health industry and health related online magazines, etc., that will give us the right data about these. A lot of research is being conducted, so whatever we are advised to work from home, etc., we need to keep it up. But as the colleagues also pointed out in this beautiful panel, is that we need to have outlets for this continuing. So we look after our mental health and wellness, etc., by doing other things, even if it has to be through online, and customize a little bit our mind that this is not the end of the world. It's a very much of a certain period that we're all going through, and we will definitely emerge stronger, healthier, with better thinking around the world. So we just have to keep that hope ongoing, even if we have to protect ourselves and others by working from home or doing things that not necessarily were very normal to us back in the day. I believe, and I'm 100% that this is going to be a very limited period of time for us here and the world, and we will emerge from it very soon, inshallah. Regarding the other question of continuing to travel, I think that the market out there is, because I've led medical tourism for quite a considerable amount of time, and always that question used to come up to me saying, you're trying to attract people to come to Dubai. What about people leaving from Dubai to elsewhere? This kind of inbound, outbound is very normal. It happens in every country, and also it was very much discussed on other aspects of wellness now in this panel, and it applies to medical tourism, that it all applies to this authenticity and how people perceive certain treatments and what they will be getting out of their travel, whether for wellness, for even tourism, or for medical tourism. So yes, I believe that that kind of travel will continue, whether it's inbound or outbound. People will come to Dubai for certain things that they perceive Dubai is strong about, and other parts of the UAE or GCC, and people here will continue to travel for whatever they authentically think, and it all depends on also the new normal, the statistics, how safe it is to travel, how safe those countries are to for people to travel to. It's not, the formula is a bit more complicated now with COVID, but it's about the broad authenticity and how people believe about the destination they are going to, and how today is more about that personalized experience that I will get, wherever I believe I can go and get benefits, whether it's just for going for shopping. I prefer, I want to go to this shop over that because I find myself in it. This is something everybody says. So when it comes to medical, people are even more careful. When it comes to wellness, people are even more careful. So this is a new language that brands need to be very careful about how they portray themselves and how authentic they are in what they are giving away. So it's not anymore a game of what's being said, but it's more of what really is being practiced, because it's so easy for one person to come and experience something that is different from what they were promised, and a hashtag goes around, and the reputation needs a lot to be fixed later on. So it's better we go with what we promise, we apply and implement, so it's a wonderful experience for everyone.
Linda, just stay on to that. And Catherine, this is for you, both of you. I don't know, but I'm reading out what Sonia, she has sent this. She says, UAE has over 4,000 wellness, well-being certified experts. They come from 25 to 30 different cultures and traditions. What are the other ways to create wellness products and experience without the hotel product?
Wow, I didn't realize there were that many experts in the UAE.
That's what she mentioned. So I'm leaving it to
If
you.
any of them are listening, can they message me? I need more support for our project.
Yeah, info to me as well.
Yeah, exactly. We'll share them. If I can just quickly comment on that, I think that what I'm also seeing is that there are a lot of people that are going out on their own and creating retreats in the desert. Like Linda said earlier, people are going out earlier. They're going out into spaces and doing camps and days out, just doing yoga and so forth. People are doing things on their own and are not necessarily relying upon the hotels. I'm seeing more and more standalone wellness concepts being created. I'm seeing standalone spas bringing in wellness offerings. I'm seeing aesthetic clinics wanting to bring in more wellness or alternative health offerings. So that, there are a lot of opportunities for these wellness practitioners or alternative practitioners that are there. But I would say it's about collaboration. It's not necessarily about working on your own. It's about looking at how, they can partner together to be able to get, I guess, more brand awareness or exposure and start to get some momentum. And it's not necessarily hotels, although hotels definitely need their help because the hotels do not have the internal expertise. And it's almost like you've got this hotel sitting there with nothing happening in it, and all of these 4,000 people in the UAE that essentially could come in and help them and utilize those facilities that are just sitting there doing nothing. So yeah, there's plenty of opportunity. I read on Facebook all the different groups here, constantly people asking about wellness retreats and where can I go for a sound bowl healing evening or an ice bath experience, and people are doing them from their houses. So people are really trying to maximize the offerings that they have. It doesn't have to just be with hotels.
If you don't mind, I would like to add something to Catherine's comment, just brief one. I think one of the challenges that the market is facing in GCC or UAE in particular is that to accommodate the demand at the moment, as well as the 4,000 practitioners, you have a little barrier there, which is the operators. Operators do have their protocols, they have their systems, they have their product suppliers, they have their SOPs and all these fantastic things, which may or may not accommodate the expertise that's available locally, because they don't, based on that, what they do, they just want to copy what they have been doing in Thailand, in California, wherever, happen to be in Dubai. And that calls for a serious revision or revisiting, if you don't mind me saying that, on how, for example, owners contract operators, then which operators they contract, and number 3 is how operators think about themselves in terms of creating value for money. I know my head to be taken off by various operators now, because that's not the most positive note on that, but that's how it goes. I mean, you can try to push to sell whatever you're selling in 27 other countries, but it's not the point at the moment, because people are looking into it in a very different way, and the brand-based protocols and products and menus may be last century.
Okay, Laszlo, I've got last 2 questions before we're going to wind up, but I want to ask you this one. This is from Mr. Mohammed from Abu Dhabi and Christina from Dubai. It's pretty similar. What are the current booking trends, and by when do you anticipate to reach the pre-COVID 2019 numbers. And Christina is saying, what would you identify as the new trends in the wellness sector?
All right. I think we need to start a new session to answer those questions, if you don't mind me saying that. First of all, I don't have, I think, Catherine, you may be more likely, very more appropriate to answer that question in terms of bookings. But I think your mindset would probably need to change a little, just talking to the person who asked the question. I don't think we can go back to 2019 as it is, just we'll use it as a benchmark, because then your expectations will be based on something which may not come back ever again, or maybe just in 5 years' time. So you need to draw a line, and you need to see what you can get out of the situation as of now, and maybe it's a totally different situation in a month's time, not always looking back how, let's say, February 2019 was, therefore I need to benchmark myself against. So that's my view on that probably you need to change it weekly, less so annually. And in terms of trends, I go back to the very opening statement. You need to look at it based on your segments, based on your market, based on your local resources, build your wellness architecture or wellness landscape as it happens, and then pick what's the most relevant given the certain market situation. Because that last question was very much like a topic for a totally new discussion, if you ask me.
Not a point. Okay, my last question is, and I'll leave it to all three of you, anybody wants to do it, but this is Emilia. She's from Poland. She's saying, what is the role of social media, especially mostly Instagram, in the wellness tourism? Is it actually a good fit? Does wellness go along with Instagram? Any of you can answer this. I'll leave it to you.
Yes, it definitely does. 100%. I mean, look, from an aesthetic perspective, wellness looks amazing. Everything that we do in the wellness environment is beautifully put together. So it works perfectly in terms of being filmed or photographed or shared. So yes, of course, it absolutely does. But I think, depending on obviously who your target audience is, most people now are choosing where they go and spend their money, whether it's travel or shopping or what have you, based upon what they see on Instagram. So yes, and also the utilization of influencers or ambassadors and what have you. And I think, sharing those stories is how we're going to see the efficacy of these wellness retreats or these wellness offerings. Because when we can see an authentic experience being shared by an influencer or an ambassador or whomever, then we would start to trust that experience and then essentially book it and so forth. I think without Instagram or social media, a business doesn't have a hope these days of making an impact.
Okay, one last question I'm taking in. This is from Bahrain. Mr. Venu has come. He's asking me, asking three of you, what in your opinion about Ayurveda and yoga, and what role can they play in wellness tourism?
I want to have just a quick note on that, linking to Catherine's previous point as well as to the question. The very core of yoga is not Instagrammable, if you don't mind me having that blunt statement, because that's supposed to be, internal. This is supposed to be in your head, in your soul, in your mind. That's not Instagrammable. You can always desperately try to have the most picturesque location where you do whichever asana, because that's what sells well on Instagram. But I'm having difficulties with this Instagrammable externalizing, which is internal. I have a little bit of problem with that. I understand, and Catherine, you're right. I mean, that's just not happening without.
Sorry, I'm just a little bit too commercial in my view.
You're right. Look, you're right. You are on the ground. You really are doing it. There's absolutely no question. I'm just giving you a different consideration that there are certain benefits which you cannot Instagram. You just can't do that, and shouldn't. in the first place. But that's just a different consideration. Just for the next session, Sanjay, just suggesting.
If I may, sorry, I just wanted to bridge some gap between the two of you on the screen, which is I really like. I mean, you're absolutely right. You can't give the soul and spirit of something like yoga or Ayurveda through something, you know, on a screen that's very quick. But it can give me a glimpse of what I could be getting. You know, it just can, if it's good, if it's authentic, and if it's properly portrayed on that screen, it can prompt me to want to know more about it, to maybe try and experience it. The technology, as Catherine said, maybe the use of the word social media is a bit now, you know, a bit, some people get itchy about it, but actually it's the use of technology to get closer to me with the sound and picture and, you know, even those reels that came out now on Instagram, you know, they're really good. You know, we're trying so hard to get to know what we're missing out on through those Instagram feeds that we keep on getting. And people now are very clever. They can discern between what is too commercial versus what really is trying hard to bring about what is good that I'm providing you, and you know, so you can come and read a little bit more about it, try to experience it, and you know, get a taste of it. So I think technology in general, if it's used properly and if the material is portrayed as best as they can, it can definitely serve into getting the concept closer to people in a more, you know, I see, I believe thing. And I think that is something we cannot ignore in this world.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, my time is really out. We are really off time, but I'm still going to give each one of you 30 seconds for your closing comments. And last time I gave the ladies the last word, but I'm going to start with Laszlo. All yours. You start first, sir.
Thank you very much. I think it's a great panel to discuss various alternatives because we all represent different angles of the business, which I think is a really great thing. If you want to take away anything in terms of participants, is that you have, at the moment, we have great opportunities in this business, but you need to be sitting down a little bit and thinking either outside of the box, which sounds like great advice, but more difficult than to do it actually you think, and look at various options. And please don't copy. I'm really don't advocate anyone to copy anything in this business, especially nowadays, because people appreciate which is relevant to them. So you need to find the relevance to the market, which is less so on technicalities, more like on benefits and values.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. What I'm going to do is now, Catherine, your 30 seconds.
Thank you. I would suggest that operators, hoteliers, owners, tour operators really just look at educating themselves on what wellness is and what their clients want, and making sure that that's then communicated. Because if the tour operators are hearing from their clients that they want more wellness and what type of wellness, that then needs to be communicated to the end provider, so the hoteliers or the owners or what have you. And it's got to start there, and then we all together have to start to make sure that we're all educated on what we're trying to offer, and that wellness isn't just a buzzword that we're all cashing in on, that we're actually authentically providing experiences for the people that need it out there, which is pretty much everyone right now.
Linda, you have the last word. Your 30 seconds start now.
I think people have reprioritized wellness in their lives, and I think the industry needs to match that up and prioritize people's needs for this kind of important aspect of their mental and well-being and this part of their health. And I think that the hoteliers and the business industry needs to definitely recognize the rising, and I keep focusing on that, global middle class with its growing interest in experiential travel and to cater to their aspirations. So the more we come down to what people need, the more our offering will be authentic, the more we will seek expertise on this, and we'll try to offer what really is best so that we create our offering around this and we create that brand loyalty, because I think the world to come and from COVID onwards is a world where people are more intelligent and they make better choices when it comes to where they want to go, and they know better what suits them. So I think this personalized effect will grow more and more. And if the wellness industry does not match that trend, they will not be able to cater for these growing needs. So I think this is where we need to definitely educate more and have more and more people centered around this.
Thank you, Linda. Actually, we're really way out of time. We're ahead of our time. But before I say thank you to you, I want to say thank you to the audience. In fact, you guys have really been wonderful. Some of the questions which you asked were really surprising me, and people from Saudi Arabia to London to Poland, I was taken aback, but I think your questions were excellent. Thank you very much. And my three panelists, you guys were wonderful. I like Laszlo said, yes, we can go on and we need maybe another session to do all this, but thank you so much. I think it just shows that people are really interested in the health and tourism and wellness worldwide, and that's what's going to really bring tourism back to a great extent. But thank you very much, Laszlo. Thank you very much, Linda.
Thank you.
Catherine, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to have you over here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. All the best.
Bye. Bye.